Ship them all back. Seriously.
And he's saying don't let any more come in.
Don't let any more come in. Ship them all back.
I think it's a good idea with everything that's going on in the world right now. I mean, it sounds harsh, but reality is reality. There's so much hatred out there toward us, and you know, in that culture especially, you know, and not to make a blanket statement myself, but so I'm okay with it.
Who's cutting off people's heads? Who's bombing buildings? Who's bombing airplanes? It's not the Christians, it's not the Jewish, it's not the Buddhists, it's the Muslims. You got that on camera, Sport?
You got it, Sport. Welcome back to Hardball. Those are some of Donald Trump's enthusiastic supporters. No matter how you try to adjust your focus on the Republican presidential race, one thing's clear: Trump is on top right now with about 30% of the Republican vote in most of the polls out there. A new online poll shows strong GOP support, 65% for Trump's proposed temporary ban on the entry of Muslims from other countries coming into the U.S. The GOP establishment may be outraged, but the Republican grassroots and Trump supporters in particular are standing solid behind him. Joining me right now, our Republican strategist John Brabender. Thank you, John. A Rick Santorum advisor, and Gregory Angelo, the president of the Log Cabin Republicans. Thank you. Let me start with John. In your sense of the stalwartness of the Trump vote, will it go through this storm, which I think is of a different quality than the ones he's faced in the last couple months? Your thoughts?
Well, I think there's two answers to that. First of all, you do have to start with the understanding that Trump supporters are unlike anything we've seen before. They're generally very blue collar. They're very much more on the high school educated, and they are not having any real affinity for the party itself or Washington. So they're different they're not a quintessential Republican voter. Number two is, I do believe that this is a little bit different. I do believe that for the first time, it is possible that he's gone too far, where even his own supporters are going to say, this is outrageous, this isn't what America's about, and hopefully find it very troubling.
Greg?
Yeah, well,
do you believe this is a Rubicon? This is a crossing over from populism to un-Americanism?
I don't know that I'd say that. We definitely put out a statement yesterday admonishing Mr. Trump for this fanciful.
Suppose he said no gays can come in the country.
But he wouldn't say that. You know,
why wouldn't he?
Because Donald Trump, your viewers might not believe it, is actually.
I said if he would. I said if he would. But I said if he would.
Yeah,
he hasn't come for you guys yet, but he's going for a lot of other people.
But he has a record of not doing that. He supports amending the Civil Rights Act to include sexual orientation non-discrimination. Has been to a gay wedding. Is friends with George Takei. His record doesn't bear out that he would be.
How do you explain his tolerance on orientation, but not tolerance on ethnicity?
Because what he's doing right now is playing to people's fears, Chris. And that when you talk about the numbers that are coming out right now about all these Republican voters who are supporting Trump's plan, a fanciful plan that could never be realized, keep in mind, this would never happen, but to ban all Muslims from this country, they're not so much, in my estimation, supporting Trump's plan as they are the lack of plan and vision from President Obama.
Suppose you were a Muslim, what would you think?
Well,
what would you think if you were a Muslim? What would you think if you were a Muslim? And you heard that Muslims can't come in the country.
This was an un-American plan. It's an un-Republican plan, and that's essentially what we said in our statement yesterday. I'm not being an apologist for Trump in that regard, but I would just point out that if we as Log Cabin Republicans are advocating for a more inclusive Republican Party, it doesn't begin and end with members of the gay community. Yeah. In fact, one of the most challenging things, if you're fighting for equal rights, it's easy to fight for your own equal rights, right?
I know,
fighting for others is more difficult.
Thank you for saying it.